On the end of the last one, I said we were going to get into the fixing the panels as opposed to starting up the scoot. I finally thought that a way I can start it with a different battery. I can drive my pickup right up to the barn door and move the scoot back a little bit, and my jumper cable should be long enough to do it, but that'll be another one. What I wanted, like I alluded to, was I wanted to fix some of the panels, and then this one here it had cracked. There was a crack on the outside here, so I put some Gel Magic in. I'll show you the tube here in a second. It's an epoxy, a non-sagging epoxy, and then I put there's 2 layers of glass cloth. There's a layer of 2-inch tape in here, and then some other cloth over the top. I have to trim it up a little bit. Some of these, and add a little bit of plastic here to keep from settling in. So I got some trimming I need to do. It's seeped over the side, so I'm gonna have to cut that off. So we'll come back when I get this cleaned up. Well, before we come back again, what I thought was epoxy seeping over the edge was some masking tape I'd used to keep the epoxy from, and I don't know if you can see it in there. You can see a little bit of a crack. I don't know if I'm going to repaint all the panels or not when I get done. I may. Let me go ahead and clean this up. Well, I guess you can see me what I'm doing. Got out my knife, and I'm going to go cut along that edge there. I do a lot of fiberglass work on my boats. If you go over to my Red Barn Boats channel on YouTube, you'll see me build all kinds of different kinds of boats. In fact, the last few days I've been finalizing the drawings for a 14-foot drift boat. And so that'll be up on duckworksmagazine.com or duckworksbbs.com here another couple weeks. So, but I have other boats there you can go download the plans for. There's study plans and models you can build. So now I'm going to, I've had good luck with glass cloth on this ABS that looks like what Honda uses the same thing as the T-Max does, Yamaha, for making their panels. So if you have broken ones, epoxy and glass cloth works fine. I'll show you some other, well, here's another one across the way. The tabs here were broken off, and they were on another panel, but I was able to take, you can see there's a nail in this one. The hole went all the way down through this one into the base, so I was able to use the nail, which I'm going to have to use the pliers on to get out from the epoxy, to hold them in line. And then I used the Gel Magic again to hold it in place. And then yesterday when I was doing the other part with the glass cloth, I had epoxy left over. Which way are we going here? And so I put some layer of glass. I was originally going to put some fairing compound around both sides to kind of like build up the sides, but that glass cloth over the top of it, I may put another layer on. But let me go ahead and clean that up. This part had been broken out along in here, so I had some leftover epoxy, so I soaked epoxy and just put a clamp on it. And I'll put some, I'll clean this up again and then rough up around the edge here. There's a crack that runs down along in through here too. I'll cover this whole thing with a couple layers of glass cloth, and then on the outside I'll probably use some fairing compound and fill in that void and smooth it out. And then down here there was a tab that was broken off, and I glued it in place, epoxied yesterday, and I'll put some glass cloth over this to hold it in place, and I'll probably put some Gel Magic around the edges here, and then glass over that. I notice there's a little, where is it at? down here is a piece of the hood. So I'll fix that when we come around to it. Well, I have another one of those little tabs that broke off. I've got it gel magicking back in place with epoxy. The gel magicking is something System 3 makes out of Auburn, Washington. You can get it pretty much any good marine hardware store or Duckworks magazine, Duckworks BBS. That blue tape is on the back. I'm going to have to fill that hole, but I don't want to do that until I get that tab back in place. And down in here I've got some nylon little wire ties, drilled some holes through there, and then I've got gel magic down in that seam that broke off. I had to use the those little straps to hold it in place, and then this is the outside seam where it was broken, and that goes underneath too, and then comes out down here. And then down here I have a couple tears. One, this clamp here is for a tear, but this one here, that whole plastic, let me get up here. This whole plastic piece broke off. That holds one of the vent louvers. So, and then over here I've got it prepped. That'll be the next thing I'll show you. I'm going to glass cloth over the top of it. I had a clamp right down in here holding this up, but I thought I can go ahead and clamp that apart and hold it in place, and so that'll be smooth. So now I can go out and get the epoxy, just regular straight epoxy, mixed epoxy, and the glass cloth. Probably a couple layers on the inside. I think the outside I'll leave be. Well, I've got the first layer of cloth. I've got 2 more layers. I'm going to put 3 layers of cloth on that crack. You can see the outline of some masking tape underneath. I'm going to wet up to the edge of the masking tape, and maybe to the middle, and then I'll come back and cut along the inside to leave a nice smooth edge. So let me go ahead and mix up some epoxy, and we'll come back. One of my shop lights doesn't want to work, so that'll be a little darker than normal. Yeah, I got a little bit of epoxy mixed up, so let's go ahead and wet this out. Normally when I do epoxy, I use, on my boats, I use a putty knife. And I may do that on the later coats. Right now I just want to get some on it to hold it down. I've had really good luck with sticking epoxy and the glass cloth to this ABS plastic they use. Like I said, right up to the edge of the tape so you don't go over. My arm in the way. Start to lift on me. Look for areas where it gets light, and that's where the glass is lifting. Okay. And I got some more up on the head here. I noticed I've got some cracks inside that'll be fun to try to And a lot of times with the glass, you don't have to gob it on. It'll wet out on its own as it sucks in from the lower reaches. Let that cure tonight. There, okay. We'll come back and cut that off later. Well, now comes the great jigsaw puzzle. I've got all these pieces. These go to something on one of these black plastic ones, but all these little pieces down here came off of this and this, and I'm gonna have to go and figure out where everything goes. Some have got screws in them for other things, and yeah, it's gonna be a joy.